guys, I'm back with another video. I have no idea what this channel is. I think it's either NFSW, but I'm pretty sure that's like the part of the title. I don't think that's like part of the video or whatever, or like part of the channel. I don't know. But it's called The True Story of Albert Fish, NFSW, and I'm pretty sure this is actually another Bound in Imagery video, which I just didn't put that it was a Bound in Imagery video. That's why I didn't know for sure, but yeah. So the first story that I watched about the Bound in Imagery, about the whole quarantine, that was definitely kind of weird. I didn't understand, so hopefully I'll understand this one. It's about 5 minutes shorter, so let's see if I understand this one. So it's basically The True Story of Albert Fish. So maybe he disappeared or something, I have no idea. Let's get into it.
In November of 1934, Albert Fish sent a letter to a woman he had called on 6 years prior. Dear Mrs. Blood, on June 3rd, 1928, I called you at 406 West 15th Street and brought you pot cheese and strawberries. We had lunch. Grace sat on my lap and kissed me. I made up my mind to eat her.
What?
The letter that Mrs. Delia Flanagan Budd received on that cold November evening that began with the tale of a Chinese deckhand with a taste for human flesh had ended with a harrowing and detailed description of her daughter's murder. The story of the deckhand was never verified, but the part concerning her daughter proved all too true. Fish, who had introduced himself to the Budd family as Frank Howard, had killed another child, bringing his believed total of victims up to roughly 100.
Holy shit.
Hamilton Howard Albert Fish, the Brooklyn Vampire, the Werewolf of Wisteria, the Gray Man. Call him what you want. The man behind the name remained the same. Small, quiet, and unassuming, with a face that blended in with the crowd, and a demeanor that could frighten even the most hardened criminals. As a child, Fish was plagued by mental illness, as was his whole family. A brother in an asylum, an uncle with mania, a mother with hallucinations, and a father who was 75 years older than him made for a tumultuous childhood, which is why Fish eventually found himself in an orphanage. It was there that his thirst for torture began. The caretakers at the orphanage regularly beat the children and even encouraged the children to hurt each other. However, whereas the other children lived in fear of the pain, Fish grew to enjoy it, eventually relating pain with pleasure. Even when his mother removed him from the orphanage and brought him to live with her, Fish's depravity continued. In 1882, he began a relationship with a telegraph boy who introduced him to the sexual practices of urolognia and coprophagia, or the consumption of human waste. Eventually, his fascination with obscene sexual desires led him to an obsession with sexual self-mutilation. He would regularly embed needles into his groin and abdomen and flog himself with a nail-studded ping-pong paddle. At some point along the way, self-mutilation became too boring for Fish. He no longer got off on his own pain and therefore began to seek out others to inflict it on.
Oh my god.
In 1910, while working as a house painter in Delaware, Albert Fish met Thomas Kedden.
Who's that?
Fish and Kedden began a sadomasochistic relationship, though it is unknown how much of it Kedden actually consented to. 10 days after meeting Kedden, however, Fish decided that a consensual relationship, or even a coerced one, wasn't enough for him. He invited Kedden to an abandoned farmhouse under the guise of a meeting and locked him inside. For 2 weeks, Fish tortured Kedden, mutilating his body and cutting off his penis. Then, as suddenly as he arrived, Fish left, leaving Kedden with a $10 bill for his trouble.
Oh my god.
Around 1917, Fish himself began to fall victim to the mental illness that had plagued his family. He began having auditory hallucinations, at one point even wrapping himself in a carpet, claiming to be following the words of John the Apostle. It is thought that his penchant for self-harm was related to his insanity. Despite his depravities, Fish managed to marry and have 6 children. Though his own claim he never abused them, during their lifetimes he
don't believe it.
continuously abused other young children, mostly boys. Around the time his children were young, he also developed an obsession with cannibalism, often preparing meals of raw meat that he shared with his children. He began to look for vulnerable children, such as mentally handicapped orphans or homeless black children.
Oh my
He
god.
claimed that God was speaking with him and commanding him to torture young children.
No.
He began to read advertisements in local papers for homes with children looking for housework, or for young men looking for work themselves.
No.
It was through one of these advertisements that he found young Grace Budd. Grace had not always been Albert Fish's intended target. In fact, it was her older brother that he had his sights set on. The brother Edward had placed an ad looking for work on a farm or in the country. Fish had planned on hiring him and bringing him out to his country house to torture him. Under the guise of Frank Howard, Fish called in the Budd family's Manhattan home. He claimed to have some farm work upstate, and that he was looking for some help around the house.
No.
Then, he noticed the young girl standing behind her parents. Instantly, he changed his victim, focusing instead on little Grace. He mentioned in passing as he was discussing his farm that he was in town to visit his niece and attend her birthday party.
Okay.
Somehow, despite meeting the family just moments before, he convinced Delia and Albert Budd to let him take their daughter along to his niece's birthday party. Fish had taken Grace, dressed in her Sunday best, to his farm upstate, the same one he had intended to use as a torture chamber for her brother. According to the letter sent to Delia Budd, along with his confession, Fish had hidden in an upstairs bedroom, naked, so as not to get blood on his clothing, while she picked wildflowers in the yard. Then, he called her inside. When she screamed at the sight of him, he killed her, strangling her as she fled.
Oh my
He then
god.
cut her body into pieces and ate her after subjecting her to horrific torture.
Oh my god.
The letter, which had clearly been intended to cause panic within the Budd home, as well as serve as a macabre brag for Fish, ended up being his downfall. Police inquired with the company and found that the paper had been left behind by a janitor from the company at a rooming house he'd been staying at. At the same rooming house, a man named Albert Fish was renting a place. Upon learning that Fish bore a strong resemblance to Frank Howard, Grace Budd's kidnapper, the police set up an interview. To their surprise, Fish confessed in an instant, practically tripping over himself to reveal the precise details of what he'd done to Grace Budd,
Oh my
as
god.
well as dozens of other children. However, in the end, only 3 children could be concretely proven to be his victims. Before long, the police attributed numerous crimes to Fish, who was found to be insane. However,
Okay.
his insanity was not enough to save him, as his guilt was firmly declared by the members of the jury. In March of 1935, he was sentenced to death, but not before being allowed to write a series of notes on his crimes to be handed over to journalists working on the case. They took one look at the notes and refused to publish them.
They were probably so horrid that they didn't even want to, like, you know. Holy crap. Yes, their crimes were probably so horrid that, like, they didn't even want to, like, know about them or, like, for them to be released. They were probably that, like, horrid that they couldn't even bear to, like, actually expose it, you know what I mean? Which is just terrifying in itself because, like, you want to expose what the guy's doing, but then it's, like, it's so bad that you don't even want to. It's, like, totally, like, you know. Wow, that's insane. I don't even know what to say to that. That's insane. Another good story by Bound in Imagery. Definitely not what I expected, but that's crazy how Albert Fish, like, obviously Albert Fish had some, like, mental issues. Obviously there's no denying that, you know what I mean? Obviously he had some kind of, like, mental stuff that he didn't really exactly know, or, like, you know how to handle it, which obviously it's, you know, so, like, maybe you're an NCR, not criminally responsible, but at the same time, I think he was found guilty. Like, they just sentenced to death, so that's crazy. It's insane. But, oh my gosh, I can't even believe that. I feel bad for all those kids. I was kind of hoping that he got the help he needed, but he instead got killed. Which, I mean, I'm not saying anybody should die. Like, if you're killing everyone and you can't really control yourself, then, like, I don't want to say die, but, like, if you keep doing it, and then it's like, you know, like, you can't really stop yourself, you know what I mean? So it's like, I don't really know exactly. Like, it's hard to really say, so I don't know. That's gonna be it for this video. Let me know what you guys thought of this video, because that was just crazy for me to hear. Especially all the brutal things he did. Like, oh, that's not what I wanted to hear at all. That's gonna be it though. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to subscribe. I upload twice daily, so be sure to, you know, do all that stuff. And see you guys in the next one. Peace out.